Welcome to the good life. Welcome aboard. It's the Sue Train. Good morning, everybody. I must have had my Wheaties this morning. Another wonderful guest. I'm going to bring Penelope on in just a minute. We're going to talk about viral energy, her latest book, The Magic of Viral Energy. She's got quite a resume. I'm going to talk about her formal bio in just a minute and the conversation and why it's going to be important that we have this conversation. Of course, everything that I do here, yes, it used to be the Gratitude Cafe. It is now Clarity with Sue. And everything that I do, it's a platform of education. So you can reclaim, redesign an authentic and genuine self, life and lifestyle. It's education, it's inspiration, it's loving on you, it's what I call all the juicy stuff, right? And take what resonates and leave the rest. And of course, I call them 6-star reviews, because why not shoot for the stars? When we are done with the live radio broadcast, remember to go to iTunes or SoundCloud, whichever platform you want. Give us a big old fat review and love on us to keep myself and all my beautiful guests rocking and rolling here. And also hit the follow. And if you would like a copy of the show and the show notes, please go to claritywithsue.com and sign up for the newsletter. You're going to get some love bumps in all that we do. I've also got special finds, special links, and some goodies that I send. And of course, I do not spam. You know that. We send it out once a week. And I'll let you know if there's going to be a hiatus or if you're going to get one extra, because it's the good, juicy stuff I want to offer to you. All righty. So with that being said, I'm going to introduce the fabulous Penelope Jean Hayes. Is the head of TGR TV and the host of the network's travel series Back to Our Roots, which features the backstories of sustainable farms available on Eco Farm Finder. Penelope's background includes an on-camera television host, radio and podcast host, contributing writer of the Huffington Post, and Face the Current magazine, TV series, concept creator, and best-selling author. Now, of course, Penelope, I'm going to bring you on. I could go into this whole beautiful bio and everything you've got going on. Of course, she's a best-selling author, the genre of personal betterment. I caught that, Miss Penelope.
You like that, huh?
I do. I love that.
Well, yes, it used to be self-help, right? So it's truly, the genre is self-help if you're looking for it at the bookstore. But I like to say personal betterment, because that's what we're all really striving for.
I love that. And something that was, welcome, love. Hi, we're just
going to jump in. we're too excited.
Let's do it. Let's talk about your why, and then let's get into the juicy stuff.
Yeah, the why is juicy too, though. Yeah, I'm going to try to make the why as short as possible, because it was a journey rather than just a why. But man, it started, Sue, back when I was 15 years old, and I actually became a runaway at 15 years old. So I have a great family, had this great upbringing, but we moved around sort of every 2 years. We would move towns. And one thing led to the next. I was very disconnected from a friend group and from my family, and had a bunch of fights with my parents. Hormones are just raging at that age. And, one fight leads to the next. And the next thing I know, I'm crossing the threshold of my parents' home with my well-manicured heels and going off into the world at 15 years old. So I did have to learn a lot of things the hard way. I struggled against myself more than anything else. And I really wanted to find what happiness was for me. And it really was a journey of purpose. And having that happiness is really about fulfillment in so many ways. And one day, we fast forward years later, I got into meditation. I was just absorbing all of the material I possibly could to, have this personal betterment, and, read Law of Attraction and read Deepak Chopra, and was really as a very young person, very interested in all things, metaphysical and physics and quantum physics and all of that great stuff. So through all of that, I did start meditating, and that was a great process for me, because it really allowed me to tap into this flow of perhaps a higher consciousness, that in those moments I was able to really connect with something beyond my own capabilities. And one day, several years ago now, it might be 12 years ago, I would guess, I was in Nashville and I was meditating in a forest, and I always brought a pen and paper with me. And all of a sudden, just I had this incredible experience where I started seeing the forest almost like translucent, and it was sparkling and iridescent. And I'm like, what is going on? Because I'm a person who, I don't do drugs, not that there's any problem with that, but it wasn't a hallucination. It wasn't drug induced. I literally started seeing the forest differently. And it was, you know what I'm talking
Oh
about,
God,
right? I
yeah,
can
you're
see it.
speaking my language, girl. Are you
Right,
kidding?
right.
Oh yes.
So you just get to that moment when your energy balances with the energy around you. So the energy of nature in this case, it's already doing it perfectly. So if you want to know what a great frequency is, nature's already doing it so perfectly. And that's what happened. And then this owl came in, and it was a giant owl, and that's actually the name of the species. And it kind of kited in my right vision with a wingspan as long as my car. And it landed, Sue, right in front of me on a branch. And so I'm sitting on, right? Yes. I'm sitting on the ledge of this cliff, and this tree, to where like the branch was sort of right in line with my eyesight. And this owl just observed me. And this went on for many, many long minutes. And I wasn't counting time. It could have been 30 minutes. But I realized in that moment that the energy of nature itself had accepted me, and the owl knew that I wasn't going to harm it. And the owl, while it knew I was there, I wasn't invisible. It was very aware of my energy, but my energy had become homeostasis and balanced with the energy of that forest. And therefore, in that state, I was incapable of causing harm to the energy around me. Thus was born the concept of viral energy. And so I started writing down on that paper that I brought, and it was just this giant download of information coming from this, this source of the infinite, or wherever that comes from. And that was the skeleton of the book, The Magic of Viral Energy. So that's the beginning, and that's my why.
Ba-dum-bum-bum. And I love what you said at the beginning. It is a journey, right? And would you agree that we teach most what we need to learn?
Oh, absolutely. And it's only through the struggle that we have any ability to share how we did it with other people.
That my language, entanglement, engagement, that dance of energies and frequencies, that you can't really see. Well, let me rephrase that, because I can see that, and some people can. But for the general population that haven't
for the rest,
yeah. I know I gotta rephrase that, but most of us are still toying with the idea or the idealisms of energy, frequency, source. My language, I call it source. And what that looks like in their life, how that shows up. Can we talk about that and have that? I mean, obviously you had the owl and you were matched with the frequency of energy. So of course that's what you were going to get. And I think that's a really important conversation too. In fact, I was just writing a paper about that how you show, in layman, how you show up, you're going to attract it. And you can do that in 3D, you can do that in 5D. Now, if we're talking 3D, you're sitting at this beautiful cliffside meditating, and you have nature that appears and loves on you because you're a matching frequency. So audience, I would like to have that conversation. I want you to noodle with us and have that conversation and really have a heightened awareness of how you're showing up in your life and lifestyle, right? I think that's so important, because if you're getting angst, guess what? You got to look at yourself, my brothers and sisters.
Well, and that really is it. And it's a great jumping off point. And first, just want to touch on kind of the difference. You hear a lot of people talking about vibration and vibe and good vibes. And that is like, we understand what that means, but from a scientific standpoint in physics, it's actually frequency. And so, and you use the word frequency, and that's why it reminded me that we want to also share with the audience sort of the difference, because when you understand this, it really it starts to put the puzzle together. So frequency is just like this radio station works. So 11:50 a.m. is transmitting a frequency, and
the best frequency right now.
Well, the best, it's actually when I'm going to talk about these 7 levels of frequency. And so you're right up here, Clarity with Sue is one of these levels up here. And right off the top, I'm going to say probably this strata called creation. All this creation, it's all happening here. So you can actually divide these frequencies if you imagine they're stacked on top of each other vertically. So if you're just listening to us on the radio and you can't see my hand gestures, just visualize.
You got to go there too.
Visualize that these frequencies are in these vertical layers, because it will help you understand that at the very bottom, what you're getting is, I call it hell, the frequency of hell. And just on top of that frequency is indifference. And on top of that is ignorance. And on top of that is the frequency of wanting. And on top of that is the frequency of awareness. And it starts getting lighter. On top of that is the frequency of creation. And then at the very top, it's heaven. And these are just words that I've given to them because they kind of instantly, we know what that means. So if you're in wanting, you know what that feels like to be in wanting. We've all had years of wanting. So in terms of the frequencies, you're only going to get what you're tuned into, what you're in flow with. So we hear people say this, like, you've got to get in the flow, or I'm in the flow. But what does that mean? And what flow are you in? Like, which one? Because you can be in the flow of the frequency called wanting, or even the frequency called hell, and you're only going to get what's in that flow with you. So what flow are you in, and what are you doing about your own frequency that you would be in flow with it? Because you can only get what you are tuned into. You've got your transmitter and you have your receiver, and in the middle, you can pick up what's in that flow. So say I'm in the flow of creation, and that is my frequency. And in that flow, I get Clarity with Sue, because Clarity with Sue is just in that with me. And that flow, again, now let's visualize it's like a river. And we're just floating along. It's a passive experience. And there's Clarity with Sue. She goes floating by, and you can grab onto that. And there's, fulfillment in that flow too. And you can reach your hand out for fulfillment and happiness and true love. And all of those experiences and energies and events that are that frequency, are being that frequency, because that's what you're in flow with. So when we get back to viral energy, it's important to understand that our beingness, each one of us as an individual, you and me and everyone listening, has a permeable energy field. Your beingness is holy in that it is a semi-permeable energy field. So just as osmosis works, osmosis being, again, we're talking about a scientific term, but to break it down, the process by which molecules move through a semi-permeable membrane, again, that's us, until the concentrations are equal on each side. So you are absorbing, like marinating, like a piece of meat and marinate, in a marinade, right? You're absorbing whatever you're in flow with. So it's not just law of attraction, because that's a very vague term. Law of attraction makes you think that it's like a magnetism. There's magnetism, there's law of attraction, but there's viral energy, this passive experience, because you're absorbing all the time, because you have a permeable or semi-permeable membrane. Your energy field does. So what are you in flow with? And what can you do to elevate your level, that strata, those 7 strata?
Beautiful, beautiful, Penelope. I love. Okay, so many things came up for me, and I wanted to put a pin in a few things. Let me see if I can remember, because you were in such flow. I didn't want to interrupt. I love it.
Thank you, darling.
Yes, you're so welcome. I want to talk about language that I use, and I love the layers that you use, and it's very practicum, the practicality of it, and I think that's super important because we're all in fight or flight. We've got so many things going on, and to have that practical application, which I'm huge on, really helps the brain wrap themselves around that. Within those different stages that you were talking about, I was going to say frequencies, the stages that you were talking about, my language is expansion, not good, bad, or indifferent. It's just expansion. And when I say not good, better, or any of that, it just means I'm expanding more. and you're
Mhm.
choosing to stay where you're at, or you're expanded more. And there's no emotional charge or attachment to it. Does that make sense?
It
No.
sure does. And
Yeah.
it just, again, that just brings on a whole other conversation. But I'll say in short that expansion creates expansion.
Yes.
So when you you put that one toe in the pool, you take that one step, that you take that one action. And by taking that one action, you don't have to know how you're going to get to your end goal, or how you're going to get that new job, or how you're going to get that, spouse or partner, but you have to take action,
Yep.
because the magic happens at this crossroads of Providence Street and Action Lane. Part of it is what's meant to be in Providence, and the other half is you have to take action, baby.
Yep.
And so when you take that action, that expansion, it creates more expansion. It's exponential. So
And
expansion
having that
itself is a
discernment
generator.
between that action, because so many people squirrel off. Not like I've ever done that.
Too many projects.
Because it's the creation or the creator in me, the fire in me too. There's, oh, I like that. And then I have to come back to my heart and myself and say, all right, is that truly authentic? My big anchor words for me, Penelope, is this authentic and genuine to me? So I
Uh-huh.
really bring it back in. Going on a segue here, but we were talking about the different levels and the wants and the desires. And for those of you, I kept hearing people saying, well, victimhood, well, you mean to tell me that what's coming up is the victimhood, and you mean to tell me I brought that on myself?
Right. This is a big thing. Let's talk about this, because this is a really big thing. And
Huge.
going back years ago, when I was learning a lot on various topics, I remember telling a friend of mine that, did I make that thing happen? Because I was reading a lot about law of attraction. And that's where later I had wanted to help clear this up for some people, because we can tend to blame ourselves that we have so much power due to, how energy works with law of attraction, that we attracted that bad thing because we're emitting this, frequency that has now attracted this bad thing to us, and that we have the power to do. Well, it is true to a great extent, but it's also true that simply what is around you, what you're marinating in, has a huge impact on your ability to even pull yourself up out of difficult situations. So you are responsible for getting your stuff together to
Yeah.
where you're not going to allow energy sappers and underminers and drama and chaos, because you are responsible for at least that. And we love stories. So to help everyone kind of get this into a story, I have this cousin who, she is involved in a lot of drama. It's like every small thing she really likes to make into a big drama. So she had,
Getting those
somebody.
emotional charges, baby.
Well, that's it. And she had somebody come in, and they were doing a paint job on her ceiling, and they patched something on the ceiling, and they, left. And so she sends a photo, oh my gosh, they left this patch. It's a different color to the rest. And should I do this? And she gave a text message this long about what should happen, and what if this happens, and what if, because she's renting, and what if my landlord doesn't pay for it? And I wrote back to her, just ask them if it's the primer. Like, it's so simple. And so then she did, and she reported back to me that, oh yeah, they're coming back to paint the whole thing. But she enjoys the drama of it. And she also has a lot of difficulty in her life, and she can't see that a lot of it she's bringing on herself, because there's something paying off about the drama for her. She's getting something out of the drama, and it could be, the attention, and there's something about that that is working for her. But until she understands, because these are all choices, you can choose that, and you can continue on the same trajectory of no. And she does experience like a lack of forward movement. It's a big struggle for her, and she still can't really get a grasp on why. And I'm like, you know what, when you make a decision to, cut out energy sappers in your life, those individuals who just are sapping your energy or sucking it like a vacuum, when you make the decisions to cut out the drama that you're creating, you'll see forward movement.
Absolutely. Ah, let's I love, yes, stories. Brain always loves stories. I want to just kind of unpack the scenarios a little bit because people, I'm on the bus with you, sweetheart. Absolutely. We're both drinking the same Kool-Aid, 100%. And that's why we're here and having this conversation. And the audience knows this. And I want to have a 3D practical conversation that says, and that gives them the adjectives to describe so they can now have the awareness in their life of how this is showing up or how they are showing up in their life. You know, the story that you just gave about the cousin is perfect. And I also want to kind of unpack that drama and remind the audience that you are getting chemical releases. You are getting a chemical reward.
Mhm.
And your body, I separate the two. Your BODY is
Absolutely.
addicted to those chemical releases. And I also want to remind the audience, your personality becomes your personal reality. So if something had happened to you, yeah, you know, the famous Dr. Joe Dispenza, right? And what he teaches, excuse me. But it's true. It is so true. And if you had something that happened in your past that has created your personality, it could have been 5 minutes ago, it could have been 5 years ago, it could have been 50 years ago. Now it has become your personal reality. And it's breaking that down and having that self-love and awareness and that compassion, because you've really got to I use the CCs that I had a download. It's called the CCs in life: compassionate curiosity for yourself and others, because it takes that sting out of the not so fun
Mhm.
stuff, right? I call it the sticky stuff that we are overcoming. So I want to have a conversation of adjectives for the audience to be aware of. Oh, maybe I'm in a trauma response and I like it. Maybe somebody's screaming at me and I like it. I'm screaming back at them and I like it. Or I am shutting down and I like it. There's all different variables of getting a charge versus homeostasis.
Yes, absolutely. And we can everyone can just think right now of someone in their life, and it might be yourself.
Oh, totally. Yes.
And think of the scenarios that we're talking about here. So if you're experiencing difficulties with forward movement, or someone that is, think about the circumstances of their life and the kind of things that they're kind of perpetuating. And it's like this endless cycle of having the same events, the same relationships repeat themselves. And what in that is paying off for them? What about that is giving them that charge that you're talking about, Sue?
What is
Because
it
it is a
in your
drug.
life? It is. It absolutely is. And when I have had this conversation with others and they look at me with this weird look and go, "What do you mean? I'm not addicted to anything."
So
So
we all
then
are.
we all are. And I'm like, okay, well, let's look at that. Let's have that conversation, because obviously you're triggered. Something's going on, right? Let's
Well, we all are, even if consider yourself very grounded and you've built yourself past a lot of those previous, maybe it's affirmation from others and love. And these are not bad things. Like, I will be the first to say that I would, I don't know if addicted is a really healthy term, but in a lot of ways, what would we do without love?
yeah.
What would we do without other people's appreciation of us and who we are? And it's a very human thing. I mean, even our
And
dogs
those are
need
the
it.
good hormones, though, right? Those
Yes.
aren't the depleting hormones. Let's make that clear.
Well, okay. So now let's talk about like this cycle of energy.
Yes. Okay, well,
So
wait. You know what, love? It's about
perfect.
the half hour. Let's do this. Let's take a commercial break, and we come back. We're going to jump into those good feeling hormones and that contrast, that discernment between. But we're going to be live still on YouTube. If you'd like to join us over there, we're going to be live on YouTube at 11:50 a.m. So we're going to noodle a bit for about 3 minutes. Benny, I'm going to leave it off to you.
All right, all clear, everybody.
Oh
Thanks,
my
Benny.
goodness. Thanks, Benny.
When we come back, we will talk about this circle of it's like a cycle of abuse. And just flipping through, this is the magic of viral
And
energy.
P.S., why did I not get one?
Well, I'm going to send you one.
I would love that.
Somebody better give me your address. Let me just
On
make a
it.
note.
right?
Yes. And
No.
actually, you're going to need this one too.
I saw that. I saw that in the notes too.
Look how big this book is.
I
think
know
it's
that's
like,
huge.
it's huge. In fact, it's so huge that my publisher had to break it up into all of these other mini books. So
Oh,
each like major
love
section,
that.
yeah, there's like 8 sort of major chapters. And that, so I know now we're just talking to the people who can see us. So
Yes.
when
Now
I point,
now
I
you're
know
Vanna
you
Whiting.
Yeah, that's a goodie
Oh,
too. So yes, I was
Vanna White
looking.
ain't got nothing on you.
no, she doesn't. Thank you.
Benny, let everybody see you.
I know. I
Oh,
think he
it's all
has to
good.
be-
It's your guys' part.
He's like, I'm having my coffee. Okay, so just for our viewers, this is what we're going to
Yeah.
talk about
Oh,
next.
I love
Cool.
that.
See this little guy
Yes.
here? So you know, this is the cycle. And afterwards, and you were saying it, Sue, after you have this, we'll talk about it when we come back, you end up like this, because now you're depleted again.
Yep.
So
yep.
that's a sugar rush. It's an energy sugar rush.
Yes.
You go up and then you go down. And that's the difference between those good experiences like love that feeds you
Yes.
and those other addictive hormones and all that, you know, drug
Stuff.
interactions that we have within our own selves, our physicality, that then depletes you like a sugar rush. So that's
Yeah.
what we can get into.
Yep.
Oh, such a good
You guys ready to come back?
conversation. Yeah, let's
All
go.
right, stand by.
Magic it is. It's magic. The magic of viral energy. Was that awesome?
I
Thank
just
you,
got
Benny.
that. Thanks, Benny.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Benny. Oh, I love it. All right, we are joined. Welcome back, you guys. Sue Lundquist here. And it's Clarity with Sue, formerly Gratitude Cafe, all the same juicy love on you stuff. We are here with Penelope. What is with my language? Penelope Jean Hayes. You know, that's my middle name.
Oh, nice.
The magic of viral energy. Let's jump into, we kind of stopped midstream when we were talking before the commercial. So let's go back into our conversation. I'm sorry, my speaker view is really weird. Benny, why do I not have Penelope as my speaker view? Okay.
That's a operator error, I
Go
believe,
ahead,
on your part.
Penelope.
It's not Benny. That's all we
I don't
know.
think that's
Sue.
me.
There we go.
Did you get it back?
There.
All right.
She's back. Yeah.
Right.
So let's talk about a scenario that is the extreme, because sometimes when we kind of get that extreme scenario, we can see how a softer version of that is applicable in our own lives. So in terms of the cycle of abuse, this was something that really interested me many years ago to study, because I had been abused in a relationship. In my early 20s, I was in a relationship in which, I really loved the guy. I was just, really into him and thought the sun rose on him. And over time, he became abusive, and it was mostly verbally and then actually physically abusive in the end. And through that experience, I really wanted to understand how, even who I thought was a good person could do that. And I really wanted to understand how people abuse animals too, because that has come up for me many times. It's a big interest of mine to understand how that can happen and how can that happen. And it's this cycle. So I started, researching and interviewing doctors of psychology, psychiatry, you name it. And what I came up with by kind of distilling all of that information is that there's this grand cycle of stealing energy going on. And it does come down to energy, and you could call it, different things, but it's really an energy frequency. And so the situation that I had specifically, this was a person who wanted to steal my personal power because it benefited him. And when he put me down, when he verbally put me down, it gave him a rush. So you think about like if it was a sugar rush, for example. So he temporarily stole my energy. And if you could see energy like Sue sees energy, you would see this energy sucking situation like a vacuum. And you would literally see from the top of my head energy being sucked out of my beingness and going to him because I allowed it. Now, you don't always when you can get very, very enlightened, it doesn't have to be that you can allow your energy to be taken like that. But I was young,
But
and
that is the wisdom right there, right? And also, one, it's the awareness instead of denial, which is a whole nother
correct.
conversation, denial and victimhood. But it's also important conversation to have, because we've all been there, victimhood. I've gone unconscious. I do it every day. It's a hump, but that's part of my practice every day, right? Where I'm going with this, Penelope and audience, is it's important that you have that hyper awareness of how you are showing up. And you hear the big buzzwords, your purpose, your power, taking your power back. We mean that literally. Take your power back. Stand up with confidence, and confidence in language, confidence in frequency, confidence in energy, and
And it
stand up for you.
matters.
And it
This
matters.
personal power, let's look at what that is. So
Yeah.
it is the frequency that you are. It's your beingness is your personal power. And I like the term, it's your presence. Your presence isn't just that you're there physically. Your presence is your energy frequency. That is your personal power. And from there, you create everything in your life. From that place, from that frequency, from that personal power, you create your relationships. You create your work, you create your art. That is where it comes from. That is the fuel that you have to create. So when you allow people to steal your energy, or you put yourself in low vibrational situations, these low frequency situations that you just kind of, it's, what, it does take a toll, and it does matter because you matter. And that is what you're creating with. So it matters.
Yeah, I love this, Penelope. I love this. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Because one of the there's top two things that I have with clients and when I'm doing my events. I have no energy. I'm exhausted. I've lost myself, and boundaries. Boundaries. Because if you keep allowing, keep giving without boundaries, again, I've got to back up, because you've got to be completely aware and then get really clear on who you are and how you're showing up, right? So you have that personal navigation system, mind, language, adjective, describe. Everybody knows what that is. So you then can stand in your frequency, stand in your purpose, your personal power, right? And make choices based on that, not based on other people's ideals, energies, or experiences, right?
When you're, it's crowd energy. So when you're at an event, it's like people that are there to gain wisdom from you, and they're not stealing your energy in a way that they consciously, deliberately want to suck your energy, but you are in crowd energy. And so what you get in crowd energy is a lot of frequencies, high and low frequencies, and you're absorbing that because we're all these sponges with these semi-permeable membranes, and we're absorbing through this passive process of viral energy, just passively absorbing that. And so while you go in and you're like on top of the world because you're Sue, and you're that you have this clarity and this great, you're going in with this very enlightened frequency, but just being in crowd energy does take its toll, and you have to refill the tank.
Yeah, I think that's really important to have that conversation. So thank you very much, Penelope, because people, and again, it's having that awareness and discerning where you're at, how you're showing up, and the types of people and environments that you're putting yourself into. If they are depleting, you've got to make a choice. Good, but
that's it. Well, that's it. Like, I want to say, okay, well, stop doing it, but it is a choice. And is your choice that you are the most important, person in your life because your purpose matters? You came to this incarnation for a reason. So, you know what? Get over yourself. It's not all about you. You have a greater purpose, and it matters. It matters how you are, right? We got to just laugh sometimes. Oh my goodness. It's just so fun. It's just so fun.
And I love that. And it's true. And I use a lot of high frequency laughter and joy in the work that I do, because I don't want to have that sticky stuff, resentments, fears, angers. Now, yes, does that stuff come up? God, yes. I'm still emptying the closet and getting rid of my stuff. And I'm completely honest and humble about that. And I say that to the audience, saying, even if you've been doing this 100 years, If I could equate it to the golf game, you're never, ever going to have that perfect swing. You're just
Mhm.
not. And that's okay. That is
And why,
totally
and
okay.
why would that even be it's, we
Why
always
would
hear
that
it's
be
the
the end
journey.
game? Yeah, it's the
Yeah, is it?
journey.
Well,
And it's,
that's it.
yeah, not being perfect. It's perfect effort. Do the best that you can when you know what you know, right?
Well, we're
Like,
living in duality,
yeah.
and this human experience, it's very on purpose that it's meant to be the duality. And without the darkness, how do we know what light is? How do we know what the sun is? And that's what you're experiencing. And I experience. And we have these ebbs and flows and highs and lows, but we're still in the frequency of creation and we're
Yeah.
still in flow with all those good things. We hope, at this part of the journey, but it doesn't mean there's not ebbs and flows. That's why it's called a
Yes.
frequency. You know what a frequency does, right? It goes up and down like this. And without the low times, the high times wouldn't be that great. And so here we are in this physical body, in this lifetime of duality.
Mm. I'm just sitting. I'm sitting in it, Penelope,
I
because
know.
I love this conversation. I mean, I can.
Well, let's go one step further. So
Let's
let's
go.
talk about cosmology and the Big Bang. And let's imagine that, if there's a source, wisdom, a God being, whatever you want to call it, the
Purple
source of all.
chopsticks, whatever you want.
Absolutely anything. And if that was in the source place, and that's a whole nother conversation about space and time and place and time. But let's just imagine it like a big bang. And that, that wisdom, that universal love decides to explode into countless small shards and pieces and stars and planets and just spread out and expand in the
Mm.
exponentially expanding universe. And through that expansion and the spaces created in between, and duality of light and darkness now, when there was only light and now there's light and darkness, that each little piece, each little beingness that was one of the whole and all connected now knows themselves as themselves. Because of now the smallness of their energy unit, they can experience for the first time what it is to create.
Mm.
And that's the purpose. And that's why they say it's the journey, because it actually is. And that even if you're the God being, even if you're the infinite wisdom, you would want to know yourself as a creative being. And there's only one way to do it. And it's to suffer in this experience of duality so that
Yes.
you can know the light and the darkness and you can know yourself
Yes.
as creator.
You say the word suffer, and for me, I want to replace it with discernment, only because of the language, and
Yes.
having these different. Yeah. Although the adjective to describe, I know the importance of saying the word suffer, and I also want to say, also, guys, we're using the language of suffer so you understand the depth, and you can also just say discernment, so you have a lighter frequency that you can have that conversation and really watching the language that you use, and how you're speaking to yourself. Penelope, I call it the drunk monkey or the bad roommate that's in there. And I use the drunk monkey and it's comical to me. I'm like, oh, I went unconscious again, you silly little thing. All right, swing
And an
back around.
antidote to suffer is actually this, this fulfillment, this creation. So I have suffered a lot in my life. And while I agree with you that the word has a negative connotation and we
Temptation
don't want to
yeah.
create from that place.
Yep.
But I'll tell you the truth, I've suffered a lot. And in reflection, and that still goes on, you still have that ebb and flow. And in
Yep.
reflection, the antidote often is fulfillment, and fulfillment is creation. So just get creating. So if you feel like you are suffering, if that is what you are feeling right now, if you've had that experience, replace it with creating something.
Yes.
I had this fortune cookie once and I still keep it in my desk, the little note inside. Here it is for those viewing. And Sue, it's so good. It says, "We are here to create, not merely survive." And that has
Ah.
brought me through a lot of suffering.
Well, yeah, and you know what? Let's go back to that. I don't want to diminish the suffering and the journey within that. I likewise, the suffering has brought me to where I'm at today. And to be able to now stand in it and look at it as a contrast and say, where I'm going with this, Penelope, and I think you understand, it's not, suffering has a negative connotation. I just don't want our beautiful listeners and other humans to spiral down the rabbit hole of, oh, I'm suffering, again, going
Right.
back to
And
the
that's
drama.
perspective too. And,
Yeah.
maybe that's really how that comes together, that to suffer is a perspective, and it's also a unwillingness to accept what is, and the swimming against the current and all of those things.
Yes. There was your Canadian accent. I think
Eh?
Eh? Oh, I love this.
You got some viewers in Canada.
Oh, we got
Although I'm in
lots
Florida,
in Canada. Yeah, we got Canada, Florida, Mexico, Italy. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I've got a lot of Canadian, well, soul family in Canada. So, yeah, absolutely. We are going to wrap it up in a few minutes, Penelope. I want to, again, give you the stage and have a conversation about these beautiful books and where is your intuition taking us in reference to your beautiful gem of a book right now?
Thank you.
What would you like to cover?
So from the first book, The Magic of Viral Energy, came
can
the
you
second
hold them
book.
both up? I want to hold them both up at the same time.
So,
No?
And I had such a great
There we
artist from England. So the cover art is just spectacular. You see the roots of the tree.
Yeah, I do.
That we're
Of
all
course.
connected. We're all connected. So it really is a beautiful piece that helps people in their lives. And the purpose of this book was to help people going through just the regular things that we deal with on a personal level. So I do actually highly recommend it. It's very hard for someone to kind of point someone to their own product, but I really do highly recommend The Magic of Viral Energy book. And a lot of it was downloads from Source Energy. And then came this book. Do Unto Earth was my second book. Both of them became #1 bestsellers. And Do Unto Earth took the viral energy message from the personal level and applications to your personal life and your relationships to then a global level. And Do Unto Earth was the same message of viral energy, but globally. So I want to say that there are large masses, pockets, masses, tumors of energy on our planet, in that those energies are light energy tumors and dark energy tumors. Heavy energy is actually more specific to the real term. It's a heavy energy.
Yep.
And those heavy energies could be caused by certain industries, certain political views, certain socioeconomic situations. Wars in the world definitely create heavy energy tumors in those areas, that literally the physical area. And light energy pockets and light energy masses are on our planet as well. And those have effects. And we together can come together as a consciousness to meditate or to contemplate, to basically throw our consciousness on these pockets of heavy energy, and we can move them. We can move them, Sue, like clearing a cloud.
Okay, hey, wait. I'm not being rude, but we got to put a pin in this one, Miss Penelope. This is so important. And I'm going to give you a little quick story of an example.
Please.
I've got 3 daughters, they're all grown. And when an aid car, the sirens, your body goes into, because you interpret something is wrong. I taught myself, my biology, my expression, and my daughters, no, bless them. Whatever's going on, just send them love and blessing. So, right? So where I'm going with this, Penelope, is one, I don't watch the news and all that stuff. However, when I hear of things or something has transpired, happened, I don't want I call it sticky. It's the heavy, sticky stuff. Don't say, oh God, Sue, I'm so sorry. No. I don't want that. I hear you, you're heard. I love you. We got this,
Let's collectively pour light energy on it.
Yes. But, and find the language that aligns with you too, because the brain wants that language, right? And then to bring in the frequent. Go ahead. There's something.
Yeah, no, it's always perspective. It's
Oh.
always like how you want to look at something and the perspective of it. And in terms of like this, ability that we actually have to clear negativity. Have you ever tried to clear a cloud? And if you haven't tried to clear a cloud, try it this week. So you can step outside and lie there on your grass or however you want to do it, and focus on a cloud. Get a nice one. It looks like a big old cotton ball. And now focus your energy on dissipating the cloud, on clearing the cloud. And how you do that is you're going to visualize it the way it is, easy to do because you're looking at it. And then you vector it in your visualizations from how it is to dissipating. And you see it start to dissipate in your mind's eye. And you know what? It works. And you can actually dissipate and clear a cloud in the sky. And I know because I've tried it, and I encourage everyone to try it. And when you realize that your consciousness, your concentrated effort has that ability, imagine the clouds you can't see. And these are energy pockets of negativity or heavy energy that you can dissipate in your life and in the world. And we can all do that. Whether you're in a wheelchair, you don't have all your five senses, no matter how much money you have, you can be a part of a lighter energy concentration in the world. And I believe that's what you're trying to say this whole time.
Totally.
Like, be careful of your language. Yeah. Be a part of, what you're projecting matters.
Yep. Yeah. Similar, and it goes back to your beautiful book too, having that conversation, the tools. I'm big, the tools on, real life, real time tools, because we don't have, we're in 3D life. I can't go just meditate for 5 hours a day, although I have done that and it's super good, but we've got bills to pay. We've got life and stuff that's going on. And it's beautiful people like yourself that have stepped into the rink and have taken the time and the journey to bring these tips and tools to the forefront. And I think it's so powerful. Thank you so much. We've got about 8 minutes. Is there something you want to wrap up with, Penelope?
Oh my goodness. I feel like we could talk for hours and hours.
Absolutely.
Where to take it next? I'll just say that the Do Unto Earth book is really fascinating and has just a plethora of information about environmental healing. So if you're interested in that, this book talks about, plantics replacing plastics. It talks about what's really, in the Bermuda Triangle and what's underneath Stonehenge, and which, by the way, is another circle. And a lot of really fascinating revelations came through in the book Do Unto Earth, all towards environmental healing and the consciousness that we need to have, because that's where it starts. Everything. Yeah. It's not, the technologies, absolutely. We need all of these things. We need passion, we need technologies, but it starts with consciousness and intention. So when we set the intention in the right place, all else follows. If you have a good intention for the planet, you can't do bad things and you don't want to participate in them. You start changing the way you act, the way you buy as a consumer. So that's a really fascinating book too. And that led me to one of the projects I'm involved in now, which is that I'm head of a television network called TGR TV. And it's all about eco-sustainability. And so we know that, Animal Planet's about animals interacting with people, and Travel Channel's about travel. Our network is about eco-sustainability. So we have a lineup of shows, one of which I actually host. It's called Back to Our Roots. Yes. And in that show, I visit sustainable farms, not only all over the country, but all over the world. And that will be coming out next year. We're in pre-production. So it's exciting stuff, but that just goes to show you, when you're in the flow, you're just like, they called me. So, that opportunity, I wasn't, not that I'm not always looking for opportunities, but it's one of those things that when you're in that strata, when you're picking up 11:50 a.m. and you're in the creation strata, you're in the frequency where all of those things live and move and are being, you're there and you just reach out and opportunities come, and that's how life is. So it's really an incredible time that I'm experiencing right now, and able to, really see the fruits of all of that wisdom that went into the magic of viral energy.
I love it. Let me get the website. I know it's your name, but I'm going to spell it out. www, and it's Penelope Jean Hayes, and Penelope Jean, Jean Hayes, HAYES.com. I'll have all that in the show notes. That's how you spell my middle name too. Some people call me Sue Jean. Sue Jean.
Thank you so much, Sue. I really appreciate you, what you do with your life, what you do with your time and your energy. And I just appreciate you so much.
Oh, thank you so much. I cannot wait to get those beauties in my hands. I'm just going to devour the books. I'm super excited. I'm going to segue just a little bit because we've got a couple minutes. I want to talk
Great.
about gratitude, that frequency of
Yes.
gratitude, because that is really, really important. And gratefulness. Go ahead, Penelope.
Yes. So gratitude, we do hear a lot about gratitude, keeping a gratitude journal. And the practice of gratitude, what I've come to understand is that when you're in a state of wanting, you get more wanting. When you're in a state of gratitude, you've tricked yourself in a way, I mean, you can call it that, into knowing and appreciating those things in very tangible terms. And so you take yourself, gratitude takes you out of wanting. Everything that you are resonating in gets you more of that. And that would be the law of attraction. And so when you're feeling grateful for something, you're not feeling like you don't have it. And I think that's really what gratitude, in a very functional and almost scientific way, is the backstage of gratitude. And that's why it works so well.
The backstage of gratitude. You know what? Can I say this, Penelope? Thank you. I know you had a little bit more to say, but there's something really, I went into a deep meditation the other day. And when I came out, I had a massive healing. But above and beyond that, what was so profound for me, and I, like you, I had to write it down. And when somebody says, and this is us getting clear as a whole universe, what does it mean to you when you say thank you? Do you actually tell your loved ones, this thank you is packed up with so much appreciation because I see the little things that you do. I see that you're emotional. I see that you're a cheerleader. What does thank you? What does I love you? What does appreciation truly and authentically mean to the giver and the receiver, right? And really matching and aligning with that frequency. It was so profound, right?
That's wonderful. I like to think of thank you as love plus respect. And love and respect have to go hand in hand. You look at the differences between what men really want, it's respect, what most, that's like at the top. And what women really want, not all, we're not going to generalize, but if you had to generalize, you could.
Yeah.
Women want love, would be at the top of the pyramid. We also want respect. But a lot of times, for men, it's respect they want most. But in the end, you want to put love and respect together for all people. And that is thank you. Thank you means I love you, but thank you also means I respect you. I respect the time that it took to do that thing for me or for us.
And breaking it down, truly breaking it down, because don't make it a habituation, make it a truth. And really standing and just taking a minute and looking at Penelope, looking at Sue and saying, you know what? You showed up today, sister. I see you. I hear you. I cheerlead for you. And thank you. I know the work that you put in. I know the suffering that you put in. I can feel it. And now look, you're in the rink and you're shining. Thank you so much. That is the depth of my thank you that it's all wrapped into, right? Versus just a blanket. Thank you. Okay, see you later. Huge difference.
Right? Yeah, it has become a word that has lost a lot of its power when it's overused or used improperly or thrown out like hello and goodbye. So yes, it would be good to touch base again on thank you and even finding a new way to express that, making sure that our loved ones really know that we do appreciate them.
Yes, and coworkers, team member. I think there was some study I read, and it's been a couple years that workers, I think it was 60% of employees don't feel appreciated. So if you're worried about your bottom line, guess what? Look at that. Please look at that. Yeah. All right. You know what? We are wrapping up. Penelope.
Sue, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And let me know. Big thank you, baby. It's the big one.
I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it. And oh, thank you so much. And you know what my thank yous wrapped up in. I'm serious. How can I support you more? Keep in touch with me and let me know how I can help and collaborate, whatever that looks like. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes, you're so welcome. To the audience, we'll see you next week. And until then, each of you are a gift. Get out there and share yourself with the world.